Okay, so have you ever like totally panicked when your phone's about to die and you can't find a
Oh,
charger?
yeah, all the time, especially when I'm traveling.
Right. And what if your clothes could actually power your devices? Just, from you moving around.
That would be amazing.
I know, right? Well, get this, scientists are actually working on making this a reality, and they're doing it using, of all things, tiny beads.
Beads? Really?
Yeah, tiny beads. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but researchers at this place, the Universiteit Brussels, have figured out how to use them to make electricity just from friction.
Wow, so that's like what? Wearable tech? Self-charging devices?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and even potentially sustainable energy solutions too. It's pretty mind-blowing.
So how did these beads actually work? Is it some super complicated nanotech stuff?
Well, it's actually based on a pretty simple concept called a TENG, a triboelectric nanogenerator.
Trabo what?
Triboelectric nanogenerator. It's a mouthful, I know. But basically, it all comes down to static electricity. You know, like when you rub a balloon on your hair and it sticks up?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so the same principle applies here. When certain materials rub against each other, they create this electrical charge. And these researchers have found a way to use these tiny beads to, like, capture that energy and make it usable.
Okay, that makes sense. But why beads, though? What's so special about them for generating power?
So picture this. You have a bunch of these beads all packed together.
All right.
Now, every time they rub against each other or against like a surface, bam, they generate a tiny bit of electricity. And get this, they found that a specific type of bead, they're called melamine-formaldehyde beads or MF beads, work super well.
Melamine-formaldehyde. Isn't that?
It's that stuff they use in like those hard plastic plates and bowls,
Oh, right. Okay. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. If it's a
Yeah.
common material, then it wouldn't be super expensive to make, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's one of the most exciting things about this. It could actually be really affordable and accessible, not just some crazy expensive technology that only a few people can use.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
I know, right? Okay, so the material of the beads definitely matters, but are there other things that like affect how much power they can generate?
Yeah. So the material's a big one, like you said, and that's why these MF beads are so promising. They have this unique property. They have really low elasticity, which means they can hold on to that electrical charge way better than other materials.
So it's all about maximizing the energy they can capture from that rubbing action.
Exactly.
This is making me think, could my backpack, like, charge my laptop someday?
Well, maybe. And here's another really fascinating thing they found. The size of the bead actually determines what type of charge it creates.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So the larger beads tend to become negatively charged, while the smaller ones go positive.
Oh, okay. So by choosing the right bead sizes, you could basically, like, design the electrical output you want.
Precisely. It adds this whole other level of control and opens up a ton of possibilities for how we can use this technology.
That's incredible.
Oh, and did I mention the whole fabrication process is really environmentally friendly?
So no nasty chemicals or anything?
Nope, it's just a simple dry process, which is a big plus.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got these tiny, cheap beads that can generate electricity just by rubbing together. We can even control the type of charge they make, and it's all environmentally friendly.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
So what are the researchers thinking? What kinds of applications do they see for this technology?
Well, they're envisioning a future where our clothing can power our phones and other devices, where wearables can charge themselves just from our movement, and where we can even harvest energy from all sorts of everyday activities. It's a pretty revolutionary idea.
Wow, no more battery anxiety. That would be a dream come true.
Right. But of course, there's still some challenges they need to overcome. Like right now, the amount of electricity these beads generate is enough for small electronics like sensors and LEDs, but not enough to like fully charge your phone yet.
Okay, so we're not quite there yet. What are they working on to, make this technology more practical for everyday use?
So their main focus right now is boosting the efficiency of these TENGs so they can generate more power. They're also looking at ways to improve the reliability and durability, making sure these systems can actually handle the wear and tear of daily life.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if your self-powered jacket conks out after a few wears, it's not going to be very useful.
Exactly.
Oh.
So there's still quite a bit of research and development to be done, but the progress they've made so far is really, really exciting. It really makes you wonder what other, like, ordinary things around us might hold the key to some future technological breakthrough.
So we've been talking about all the amazing things these tiny beads could do, like revolutionize how we power our lives and everything. But as with any new technology, we gotta ask, what could, potentially go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really important to think about the downsides too, right? We're basically talking about like integrating energy generation into our clothes, into our everyday lives. And well, that brings up some pretty big questions.
Right, for sure. Like, for example, what are the things that are keeping the researchers up at night?
Well, think about this. What if your clothes are, constantly generating data about your movements, about what you're doing? Who has access to that information?
Whoa, okay.
It's kind of like the next level of, data collection. We've got our phones, we've got smartwatches, and now our clothes could be tracking us too.
That's a bit unsettling, to be honest. I mean, it's one thing to track my steps on a fitness tracker, but if my shirt is reporting on my every move, that's different.
Exactly. And that brings up all these questions about, data ownership and control. Do we even have the right to know what's being collected, how it's being used? Should there be a way to, like, opt out?
Yeah, it feels like a whole minefield of privacy issues. Are there any solutions? I mean, what can be done?
Well, for starters, transparency is super important. Like, we need clear guidelines,
Yeah.
ethical frameworks, for how this data can be collected and stored and used, and maybe even ways to make the data anonymous
Yeah.
or give people control over what they're sharing.
Right, right. Okay, so data privacy, that's a big one. Anything else we need to think about?
Definitely. Accessibility is another big one.
Yep.
I mean, will everyone be able to benefit from this technology? Or will it just, make existing inequalities even worse?
Right.
Like, we need to make sure these self-powered devices are actually affordable for everyone, not just, a luxury for the wealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to create a world where only rich people can afford to ditch their chargers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And accessibility goes beyond just the cost, too. We need to think about, like, people with disabilities and how this technology can be designed to be inclusive for them as well.
That's a really good point. Okay, so we've got privacy, accessibility, anything else?
We can't forget about the environmental impact. I mean, sure, this technology has the potential to reduce our reliance on batteries, which is amazing for the environment.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure we're not creating new problems in the process.
So it wouldn't be a win if we just traded one environmental hazard for another.
Right. We need to look at, like, the whole life cycle of these beads, from the materials used to make them to how they're disposed of. It's about making sure the entire process is sustainable.
Wow, it's a lot to think about. It's more than just like cool science, huh?
Definitely. It's going to take a real collaborative effort. I mean, we need scientists, policymakers, ethicists, even the public, all working together to make sure this technology benefits everyone.
It's a good reminder that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It shapes the world, and the world shapes it. And as we, move toward this future powered by tiny beads, it's really important to have these conversations now.
Absolutely. We've talked about a lot of important questions, but we definitely don't have all the answers. And that's where you come in, listeners.
Exactly. We want to hear from you. What do you think about all this? What are your hopes, your concerns about this technology?
And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the economic and geopolitical implications of this whole tiny bead revolution. It's going to be fascinating. So stick around.
All right, so we've talked about the science behind these tiny energy-generating beads, and we've kind of dug into some of the ethical stuff too. But now I think it's time to, zoom out a little, look at the bigger picture. Like, how could this technology really shake things up on, like, a global scale?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting, right? Like, imagine a world where we don't even need batteries anymore. That's huge. I mean, it could completely disrupt entire industries.
Yeah, for real. The battery industry is, like, massive, worth billions and billions of dollars. Are we talking about, like, some serious economic winners and losers here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are companies that have built, their whole business on batteries. They might have to adapt really quickly or they could get left behind. But at the same time, it creates all these incredible opportunities for new companies to emerge.
Right. Like the next big names in energy.
Exactly.
So it's not just about individual companies, though, right? It's about whole countries. I mean, could this shift the balance of power, like, on the global stage?
It's definitely possible. Think about those countries that are, really dependent on energy imports. If they could use this technology to become more self-sufficient, well, that could have huge geopolitical implications.
We might see new alliances forming, old rivalries flaring up, as countries compete for access to this technology.
Exactly.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think about, right? This tiny little bead potentially reshaping, like, global power dynamics.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, What will the world actually look like if this technology really takes off?
It's hard to say for sure, right?
Yeah.
But one thing's clear, the future of energy is going to be so different from what we know today.
Hmm.
And this research is just one example of how, innovation can come from the most unexpected places.
This whole deep dive has been a wild ride for sure. We've gone from these tiny beads to self-powered clothing to like potential global upheaval. It's a lot to take in. So, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners will walk away with today?
I think the biggest takeaway is just to stay curious, stay engaged. The world is changing so fast, and technologies like this give us a glimpse of what's possible. The future isn't like set in stone. It's something we create through the choices we make, the actions we take.
So true. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be inspired by this conversation and make the next big discovery, right? Maybe they'll find a way to make this technology even more efficient or come up with a whole new application we haven't even thought of yet. The possibilities really are endless. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those brain gears turning.